Greetings and salutations, my intrepid wastelanders. My name is Oskapt.
And I'm Noodle Pants.
We are rolling up on season 21, which has not only fishing, but also
Perk card changes.
There's a lot to unpack here, so we're just gonna dive right in. Adrenaline. Instead of having 5 ranks, it now has just 1 rank, but it can stack up to 6 times.
That could be cool. I'm kind of digging the stacks.
So you're gonna gain 10% damage per kill while on a kill streak. You get 10% damage for 30 seconds per kill, and then the duration refreshes with kills.
So instead of ranking up the card like before, you rank up the action during battle.
Correct. And instead of needing 5 points, now you're just gonna need a guaranteed 2.
I would call this an improvement.
Dodgy is a perk card that I have mixed feelings about. Previously, you had 3 ranks and you could avoid 10 to 30% of incoming damage at a fixed AP cost. But now it's got a fixed cost of 2 and you have a 5% chance to evade. Evading no longer has a cooldown, but it will always cost AP.
Evading not having cooldown is nice. Though, how much AP does that cost?
So the AP cost is 10 times the cooldown time. The cooldown scales with damage avoided, meaning higher damage attacks cost more AP to avoid. But there's no cooldown. So I think that what they're saying here is just every time you evade, it's gonna eat AP, and the amount of AP consumed by the evasion increases with how much damage was evaded.
But isn't it essentially like a cooldown then? Because what if you deplete your AP?
If you have something that gives you back AP really, really quickly, then you could get to where you can continue to avoid damage.
And then not have a cooldown period at all.
Correct.
Okay.
If you end up in a place where you need more AP to evade the damage than what you have, then you just don't evade the damage, you eat it.
Eat it.
Enforcer used to be 3 ranks, and it would do from 5 to 15% additional stagger chance and an additional 25 to 75% of limb damage. Now, well, it's still 3 ranks, but it no longer applies to shotguns, it applies to small guns.
What the hell is small guns?
I think a small gun is going to be any kind of gun that's not a heavy gun.
Pistols?
Pistols, rifles,
Okay.
anything that's not a heavy gun. This goes along with the changes that we've been seeing around Onslaught and the changes for guns across the board. And I think it makes sense that you now have more options to choose from as you're building up your particular build for your playstyle. Especially for anybody who focuses on limb damage, like headshots, although I think they're actually turning heads not into limbs.
But there's still a lot of limbs left.
There's 4, yeah. I mean, head was never a limb, so if they take that out, that's not really that bad of a deal.
Goat legs! I love goat legs.
Noodle can't live without goat legs, quite literally. She just jumps off of stuff and dies.
I break my legs first and then I suffer and die.
Now, she's actually rocking the 2-star goat legs right now, and so this is gonna be an improvement for her because it's 1 star and you take 0 damage.
Yeah, that's insane. You just become an invincible mountain goat.
What this does is it brings the invincibility of jumping off of things that you get from power armor to people who play without power armor.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Home defense. This perk I've never really understood.
Wait, this is the one that lets you build advanced turrets, right?
Yeah, it lets you build advanced turrets, but that was kind of it. Like you can craft and disarm expert traps and craft expert turrets. Okay, so it was in my crafting loadout, but now if you have it in your loadout, workshop turrets, not camp turrets, workshop turrets will do an additional 50 to 100% damage.
I'm still not sold entirely on this card because card space is valuable. Something has to come out of your loadout with this to come in, and how often are you going to use this?
Those are excellent points. We'll have to see how this one plays. Moving target. Still 3 ranks. Previously, you gained additional damage and energy resistance while sprinting, and now you gain additional evade chance while sprinting. So that's interesting. Previously, it actually boosted your DR and ER, but if you took damage, then, maybe that was useful. But now you actually have a chance to avoid damage entirely. And I wonder if this is still going to cost AP the way that Dodgy did.
Right.
Like, is evade always going to cost AP, or is it just Dodgy evade that costs AP?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. I am excited about this next one. Travel agent. It used to be you just paid a flat 30% fewer caps when fast traveling, and at some point I hit max caps and I just stopped caring. But now, if you have this equipped, you can fast travel when you're fat.
That's huge for you.
And
no pun intended. You are always overweight.
I am always overweight. Now, this is the first time I've seen how much it's going to cost. So if you are at 2 times your carry weight, it's going to be an additional 25%, an additional 25.75 times the cost.
That's oddly specific.
So if it would cost, say, 50 caps, then it's going to cost you 1,287.
Oh, what the hell?
And if it would cost you 50 caps and you are 5 times over your carry weight, it's going to cost you 5,000 caps, approximately. Now, the max looks like it's going to cap out, literally, pun intended, at 6,000. So I guess if you're over 5 times, if you're 10 times your carry weight, then you're just going to pay 6,000 caps. How many of you, even when you're running raids, how many of you feel the need to fast travel when you're carrying 7,000 pounds of stuff? Like, do you not have a survival tent? You don't even have a place to put that. You can't put it in your stash. You can scrap it, but if you're doing raids, you've got a scrap box. If you've got a survival tent, you've got a scrap box. So I can't imagine that we're going to see people spending 6,000 caps to travel across the map.
Yeah, this is absurd. Even at max caps, this is outrageous. Because it's a single fast travel. You're not going to get 6,000 caps back that quickly.
No, you are not. We have a video on how to use expeditions to fast travel, so we'll link that in the video description and you can check it out. Chem Fiend used to be 3 ranks and gave you from 30 to 100% additional duration on your chems. Now it is 1 rank and it always gives you 100% duration on your chems, but it costs 2 points. I'm okay with that.
Same.
I imagine that Bethesda went and looked at how people's loadouts were built and they saw that everybody runs a 3-star chem. Because, if you're going to go get high and you got a choice between like getting high for an hour, getting high for an hour and 20 minutes, or getting high for 2 hours, everybody's going to get high for 2 hours.
Hell yeah.
Period. The end. Dromedary. Previously 3 ranks, now 2 ranks. And it gave you 25 to 75% additional thirst quenching, and now it gives you 50 to 100.
Kinda don't care.
Kinda don't care. I don't know anybody who runs this card.
Hydrofix.
Previously, 2 ranks, still 2 ranks. Used to be that chems generated less thirst, but now chems restore thirst.
Once again, I'm not sure of the value. It's like they just changed it because they needed to change something.
Same thing here for food, where this card used to reduce the hunger induced by chems, and now chems actually restore hunger. So now you don't have to carry food, and you don't have to carry water. You can just eat Psycho.
So same thing, just sister card for food versus water.
If you're not a carnivore, not an herbivore, and you just eat because you eat, then maybe this would be useful.
If it eliminates the use of other cards, then you free up space for other things like the turret card.
Or your backpack mod,
Right.
Where if you're no longer eating, now you can make your chems weigh less, because a lot of people are running through hiker for food and also a backpack mod to reduce the weight of chems. If you can consolidate all of that into a single thing, then maybe it'll free up some space for other cards, like you said. Slow metabolizer. Used to be 3 ranks, 25 to 75% of additional food satisfaction, and now you're at 50 to 100 and only 2 ranks.
Armor.
We're going to see a lot of stuff coming in now related to crafting loadouts, where you no longer are going to need a crafting loadout because the requirements to have certain perk cards in order to do certain things, like we saw up above with the turrets and home defense, is going away.
Not having a crafting loadout is huge. Crafting loadouts are cool, but they take up space. You could use that space for a totally different loadout, like a raid loadout versus a fishing loadout, or even several different raid loadouts for each of the different bosses. And the other thing with the crafting loadout, we often forget to switch out of them. How often have you found yourself in the middle of the fight being like, why am I such a pussy?
Dude, that's never happened. That's never happened to me, not once. Today. You previously needed Armorer to craft advanced armor mods, and that's going away. Now you can just always craft advanced armor mods if you know the plans, and that makes a lot of sense. If you know the plan, why do you have to have all this like extra card crap?
Yeah.
You know how to do it, so do it.
Just do it. Exactly. That's a good one.
So this one is going to 1 star and will always apply to improved durability and fewer materials. Along the same lines, Gunsmith going from 5 ranks down to 3 ranks, and now only applying to how long it takes for your guns to break. Makeshift Warrior, same thing, no longer necessary for crafting awesome melee weapons, it just makes them break slower.
I like it. I like all of these improvements.
So now you only need 3 stars to get an 80% slower break rate on melee weapons, whereas previously you needed 5 stars. So this becomes a 3-star card for those of you who were running a 5-star card, giving you 2 more stars, 2 more points to put something else in.
Nothing to complain about.
Nerd Rage, hello, bloody builds. Previously 3 stars, now 1 star. Previously gave you from 10 to 20% increased damage, 20 to 40 increased damage resistance, and plus 15% AP regen. And now, while your health is low, you get increased damage and AP regen. And it scales. So now you no longer get damage resistance. Your damage and AP regen starts at 80% of your hit points and scales up as your health becomes lower. So for those of you who are bloodied builds, at 20%, which was the previous threshold for this card to even take effect, you're getting 40% increased damage and 50% AP regen. But if you want to rock your bloodied build down to like a sliver of life at 5% hit points, you get 80% damage and 30% AP regen. So we're gonna see bloodied builds where people literally are on death's door and are just murdering.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah, this is gonna make bloody builds a lot more interesting. And it's also gonna make it interesting to run this card even if you're not a bloodied build, because you'll still get benefits as your health decreases.
Sure.
Powersmith, 3 stars to 1 star. Used to be required to craft advanced power armor mods, and like the ones we saw up above, now it's just your crafted power armor has improved durability and costs fewer materials.
That's right. Bye crafting loadouts.
Science! There's gonna be a lot of changes in the science cards here. Same thing, you're no longer gonna need these to craft energy weapons or mods or various other things. Science goes from 1 point to 2 points, but from 2 stars to 1 star, and your energy damage is increased based on your intelligence.
Excellent.
The smarter you are, the more you can hurt people. Science Expert has been renamed to Pyrotechnician.
Ooh.
It used to be necessary to craft rank 2 energy weapon mods, and then you got an energy damage boost, but now you specifically get a boost to fire damage based on your intelligence.
Most excellent.
So it's linear damage bonus up to plus 50% at 100 intelligence.
Wow. Being smart pays off.
At least if you have a flamethrower. All smart people have flamethrowers.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is known.
It is known.
Science Master becomes Cryologist and does the same thing, but now for cryo damage. White Knight is exactly the same, except it moved from agility to intelligence, which actually makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because like, how agile do you have to be to have your armor break more slowly and cost less to repair? Probably not much. Center Masochist, that's gonna be a hard word for some people to say.
Oh yeah.
Formerly known as Commando, which was not a hard word to say.
What's wrong with Commando? Commando just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, well, Center Masochist. Everybody shoots heads and then limbs, and the only time you're shooting a torso is if you haven't yet switched VATS off of it, because you get the most damage off of headshots. Well, now you can get increased range damage when shooting people in their chest.
This title makes no sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. What's a chest shot? Everybody who's ever fired a gun knows center mass.
Yeah.
Center mass, Okis.
I mean, masochists inflict damage upon themselves.
That's true.
So this title is stupid.
Okay, this title is stupid. I'm with Noodle. Expert Commando is now called Fast Fighter. So it's gone from being a boost on automatic rifles to movement speed bonus is also applied to your reload speed. That's interesting. In addition to going from 3 stars to 1 star, but going from 1 point to 2 points. So that's interesting. If you have anything that applies to movement speed, like Speed Demon I think actually already applies to reload speed, but anything that boosts your movement speed is also gonna boost your reload speed.
Okay, so you move faster, you shoot faster. I like it.
Well, not shoot, but reload.
Reload, right. And therefore shoot.
Master Commando is now called Number Cruncher.
These titles are so dumb. I'm sorry. Commando, Expert Commando, and Master Commando was just nice and clean and tidy.
In the Number Cruncher card, your weapons have 2% increased damage per AP cost. Interesting. Okay, this is actually really interesting. there is an obsession.
Wait. How interesting is it?
Oh no, it's very interesting. The more I thought about it and the more times I said it was interesting, the more interesting it became because I began crunching the numbers.
I see what you did there.
There is an obsession with having, wow, they made it expensive too. Okay, so yeah, this makes sense. There's an obsession with having weapons that have a very low AP cost so that you can get the most shots out of them in VATS before you run out of AP.
Okay.
What this is doing is rewarding you for having a weapon that has a high AP cost, because for every point in the AP cost, you're gonna get 2% increased damage. So if you have a weapon that has an AP cost of 50, it'll do 100% more damage in VATS.
Holy cow.
Now, you're not going to get very many shots off, but maybe that doesn't matter.
But if you can reload really fast.
If you can reload really fast, and if you're, just chowing on canned coffee,
yeah.
this is going to make for some very interesting builds. You're going to see really, really expensive weapons that hit like a truck. Downranger.
Previously known as Rifleman.
Yeah, well, Rifleman and Downranger, actually, if you're thinking about any innuendo there, they're kind of both in the same space.
Yeah, they fit.
All right, so Rifleman was previously 3, still 3, previously applied to non-automatic rifles, and now it just applies to ranged damage. So the boosts are the same, but it applies specifically to ranged damage to far enemies. So this is gonna be good for, the long-range, ghillie-suited fixer nerds.
Totally.
Shooting stuff from across the map. And also for anybody using the CFC.
We love the CFC. And what is the CFC? Because, the comment section is going to blow up.
CFC is the Cremator for Commandos, which is a weapon build that we have a video about. A lot of us use it. It's basically a zero recoil plasma rifle that allows you to shoot stuff on the other side of the map. Expert Rifleman is now called Scoped Up, and your scoped weapons have 50% more range when aiming. That makes a lot of sense. Actually, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No, that makes sense.
No, it makes zero sense. If you had an actual rifle looking through the scope, doesn't make your rifle shoot further, but it's a video game, so that makes a lot of sense. 1 rank, 2 points, increased range, fixer nerds, now you can shoot even further.
Smart Shot.
Master Rifleman, now called Smart Shot, an additional 25% weak spot damage while aiming a scoped weapon. Fair enough?
Ground Pounder.
Ground Pounder, still 3 stars, but has changed from rifle reload speed to small gun reload speed. And then they put an actual number on better and excellent. So you get 15, 30, 45% more hip fire accuracy. Allah will guide my bullets. That's actually a thing. The US military, when they were training troops in Afghanistan, had a really difficult time getting them to shoulder fire their weapons because they would just put them in their hip and just spray the air.
Oh no.
And say Allah would guide their bullets.
Wow. Don't do that, kids.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Learn to use your weapons.
Long Shot has dropped down to 1 star, still 1 point, and no longer applies to rifles, but applies to any scoped weapon, giving it an additional 30% more range and accuracy while aiming.
His scope is totally pointing in a different direction from his barrel.
Maybe he has a lazy eye.
Maybe.
Skeet Shooter.
Yay.
Small guns have 45% better accuracy and spread, gone down to 1 point and 1 star. That sounds good. I mean, who doesn't want better accuracy and spread? Sniper. Gain improved control and hold your breath for 75% longer. Previously, it was 25 to 75. Now it's just 1 star, 1 rank, 75%. Peace out. Thank you very much.
Easy peasy.
Tormentor has moved from luck to perception. Point cost increased from 1 to 2, stars from 3 to 1, and now you just flat out deal 20% more damage per crippled limb that your target has. That's a very fitting name. It's like picking wings off flies.
Yes.
Yeah, the more limbs you cripple, the more damage you do to that target.
And it makes sense for it to be in perception.
Shotgunner is now called Easy Target. Instead of 10 to 20% additional damage, it's 25 to 75% more damage to crippled targets. Wow, so you combine that with Tormentor, and now you're doing 20% more damage per crippled limb, plus once the target is crippled, you're doing an additional 25% ranged damage.
With so much attention put onto further distance from target, specifically limb damage, we don't actually have enemies that are big enough to suit this type of playstyle other than the raid bosses, some of the raid bosses. But in the main wasteland, we don't really have big bosses like that. Do you think there are big bosses coming?
That would be nice.
New bosses? Yeah.
Love the spread.
Love this spread. Oh my God. I am blushing just looking at this page.
Weapons that fire 3 or more projectiles gain 30% range. Okay. Anything that allows a weapon to fire 3 or more projectiles in a single shot will just go further.
So like my cremator?
Like your cremator.
Cool. It already goes really far.
Shotgun champ. Very expensive, and now does an additional 10% damage to crippled targets per projectile. So you combine this with shooting further, with crippling, with tormentor, and you're gonna start building some really interesting weapon stacks.
But again, I am seeing overkill. Like, we're not going to use this on the Scorched that are just walking around Morgantown.
Sure you will. Scattershot. 20% of the damage dealt to a limb is applied to all limbs on your targets.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Fireproof. This is a card that people have strong feelings about.
In both directions.
Oh yeah, some people think that this is wonderful, some people think it's the dumbest card ever. Previously, you took from 15 to 45% less damage from explosions and flame attacks. Now you take 15 to 45% less damage from explosions and flame attacks. It's the same card.
What, they didn't change anything? It's the same.
It's the same card.
Didn't even move it to a different category.
So no longer required to make the flamethrower trap. Okay. Reduced stagger and adds fire resistance.
Oh, okay, those are the changes.
Maybe how it works. All right, so this is not going to solve the debate of does this card suck. In fact, it might only add fuel to the fire. Oh, we got some changes coming to legendary perks. Blood sacrifice.
Blood.
Okay, previously when you died, teammates got from 25 to 40 additional damage resistance and they healed some amount of hit points over some number of seconds. Now, using AP in VATS consumes hit points instead at between 50 and 150% more cost. So this will allow you to spend life instead of AP in VATS. So you could have a very high health build with low AP and still be effective in VATS. Or maybe a high health build who doesn't normally use VATS, but if you needed to switch to VATS, you could. Or some of the cards that we saw earlier that are rewarding you for having high AP cost weapons, you know, you can have that run against a health build now.
Sure.
And get more shots out of your weapon in VATS at the cost of your soul, basically. I think that's more appropriate for the card idea. Like, that is a blood sacrifice, whereas before it wasn't.
Yeah, they got that one right.
That's it, kids. That's what's coming in perk card changes for Season 21, which lands next Tuesday.
Make sure to join us live. We'll kick off our live stream at server reset time, which is 9 Pacific. We are prepared to entertain you with many fun programs while we wait for servers to actually reset.
One of those is going to be another review of this, so if you have questions about this, join us during our live stream next Tuesday, and we will do our best to answer your questions and discuss builds and strategies and things like that while we're waiting for the opportunity to go fish. Thank you so much for watching. My name is oskapt.
And I'm Noodle Pants. And until next time,
Blood sacrifice!
Where the shadows creep and sway, lies a land of rusted dreams where the brave dare not stray. Appalachia, oh, it's a treacherous ride with dangers untold and nowhere to hide.